Hey, can you hear me? Look, check it out. Ignite Her has launched. It is 2025. I'm just picking up clothes from one of my friends who had some extra clothes to help out the Ignite Her program. If you have any gently worn business attire, clothes for women who are out here doing the work but maybe do not have the clothing that they need to get the job done, we need your old clothes. Hit me up in my inbox or through House of Peach. The program is called Ignite Her, where we provide clothing to women who may be transitioning from one job to the next and maybe don't have the means to buy clothes. It could be going from working at McDonald's to now working in an office. So we're looking for gently worn business clothes. Make sure y'all hit us up, all right? Please hit us up. We need those clothes. And check right below there. If you're not in the state of Delaware, you can mail them to us. Or if you're in Delaware, we'll pick them up. Y'all have a great evening.
Muted. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is time. It's Monday. It is time for the Boss Ladies Lounge. I hope you guys are ready. Thank you so much for joining us. I am April Anderson, one of the hosts for this amazing show, and we are back. We are live. It is time for us to come in again and have another fabulous show. But get this. Today is He Said, She Said. This is not our normal, just regular talk. All right. So we are going to have our He Said, She Said segment. And I want to give a huge shout out to Morgan, who's going to be coming in a minute, because this was her idea of He Said, She Said. She came up with the title and everything. And so for this, the last Monday in every single month, we discuss topics and we have male and female perspective. So we love to have a male host to come on with us, a guest come on and give the perspective from the male side, because we don't want y'all to think we bias and we just all giving it from the female side. No, we want to bring the men in as well. So we have a great topic that we're going to discuss this evening. I hope that your weekend was well. I hope last week was great after we all were together last Monday. I am just getting back in town from New Orleans, and that was an experience. It really was. Mardi Gras is going on, so there were parades literally on the street that the hotel where I was. So I could walk out the door, and I was at the parade. The highlight for me were the bands. I love bands, and there were a lot of high school, there was some college. It was just an exciting time. And I will tell you, with everything that went on in New Orleans a little while ago, we weren't on Bourbon Street, but we were on Canal Street. When I say heavy police, a law enforcement presence, there was the National Guard that was there. They had helicopters there. They had New Orleans police there. They had Louisiana State Police there, and then they had people, law enforcement that were in kind of plain clothes, but you knew who they were. Yeah, they weren't playing. You weren't coming in there doing anything crazy. So it was 100% safe. We had an amazing time. And I went for an educator conference, so we had a great time at that as well. Always good to get together with fellow educators and learn, and because our field of surgery is evolving every single year. There's new things that are coming into play, new ways that we need to teach and train our students. So we come together to collaborate, and it was a great time. So I hope and pray that you all have had an amazing day. I have been trying to keep myself up because I didn't get in till after midnight. However, I'm here because I wanted to be here. I'm here because I love hosting this show. I'm here because Morgan and I we have a lot of fun, and we have some great guests that come on that give us some insight. So what is the Boss Ladies Lounge? Let me just give you a little thing on that. We started off with House of Peach, which House of Peach is our major umbrella that we are under. Shout out to Pierce. Coy, we love you. So we are doing this to highlight so many things, and we've evolved. This is our second year of this, and we have evolved so much. We started off with female entrepreneurs, and we're not away from that. We're still doing that, highlighting female entrepreneurs, female business owners, female organization owners, all of these things, and to give you, the people, our guests, our constituents, those that watch us, give you some information on how to start businesses, on what you need to do as an entrepreneur, how it affects your life, how to navigate through that. And we found that during our shows, we always end up talking about so many other things, right? So because we do that, we've decided to expand. So there is no topic off the table. When I tell you none, we've talked about some stuff that's made me blush, and you can't really tell because I'm so melanated, but it's made me blush. So it's some serious stuff. We talk about real life issues. And today is no less than what we've been doing. Our purpose is to push you, to drive, push you, to motivate you, to encourage you, to and uplift you, to do those things in your life that you want to do. Like, why just want to do it but never act upon it? So we hope that from our shows that we encourage you enough and give you information enough that will push you into what you want to do in life, push you to your destiny. Like, there is room at the top for all of us. We don't need to be at the bottom. Nothing's going on at the bottom. Nothing. But like when my grandmother said, but foolishness is going on at the bottom. We all can get to the top. There are plenty of people in the world. There's plenty of opportunity in the world for us to have just what we want if we just take the step. So what we like to do here at the Boss Ladies Lounge is we like to provide you with the information that you need to get to where you want to go, right? So before we move on, I want to say this. I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to put a request out. Can I put a request out? Okay, I think I heard y'all say, yeah, put your request out. All right. If there are topics that you would like for us to discuss, you have questions, you can send them anonymously. We don't care. We're not going to put your business out there. We just want to discuss. Let us know, because we want to talk about those things that have come up in your lives, those things that you have questions about, because if it's something really serious, we can get an expert in to come in, because Morgan and I by no means are experts. We have lots of experience, but we're not experts. However, we have connections to the people that we need to get in here to give you the answers to what you want. But how do we know what you need if you don't say anything? So you can come in my inbox. You can go in Morgan Harvey's inbox. You can go in the House of Peach inbox, any of those avenues, and let us know, hey, we want you to talk about this. Can you answer this question? Can you bring someone on to talk about this? We absolutely, positively can do that. So we want to know. So let us know. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you've been doing great things in your community, you started this amazing business, you have some insight, some wisdom that you like to share, any of that, we'd love to have you. This isn't Morgan and April show. We want to bring this in for everyone. We want everyone to be included. Nobody is X'd out. Nobody is banned from coming on unless you're coming on with some mess. Now, if you're coming on with some mess, we gonna have to. We're not doing that. That's not what we're about. But if you're coming on with positivity, if you're coming on to help uplift people, do the things that we are setting out to do, then hey, we would love to have you on. Don't worry about things being scripted or being camera shy and all of that. It's just like, we just talking, having a conversation. See, I don't mind getting in front of the camera. Now, a few years ago, I wouldn't do this. This would not be me. I would be my introverted, quiet self that I grew up as being. But things have changed in the life of April. So I'm not that way anymore. So I love what I do. I love bringing these shows. I love doing all this stuff. So we're going to do that. Morgan hasn't come in yet, but is our guest on? Is he on yet? If not, then I'll just keep going and we'll keep up. Now, this is what I want you to do. Okay, wherever you are tuning in from, I want you to put a comment somewhere. I'd like to greet you by name. So tell me in the chat, wherever you are, where you are tuning in from. And that way I can shout out your city, your state, your country, your name, say, hey, thank you so much for coming on. And another thing that I want you to do is I want you to share this out. People need to hear what we are going to discuss tonight. This is something so serious. And to be honest with you, it's a trigger for me. It really is a trigger for me, but it is something that needs to be discussed. So we are going to talk about it, and we have a guest. He's going to come on and talk about it from the male perspective. Morgan and I are going to give our feedback from the female perspective, but we're going to have a discussion, and I hope that it blesses you like it has. I know it's going to bless me, and I know it's going to bless you. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Share this out. Share. Amazing topic. We're going to talk about family. In a nutshell, that's what we're going to talk about. Family and what happens in family. Y'all, we know that some of us have families with different dynamics, different situations, things going on, some things that are known, some things that are unknown, some things that you may need help with, some things that you may need deliverance from, freedom from, to be broken out of, chains broken off you from. So we're going to talk about that stuff on this evening. Family is a unit. And in family, there's supposed to be togetherness. There's supposed to be growth. There's supposed to be, we're supposed to cover each other, and we're supposed to help each other. But family usually is the number one place of strife, of division, of contention, of estrangement. All of that stuff happens. And sometimes it is not because of what we've done. It's a generational thing. See, I'm about breaking and destroying generational curses, things that have happened in my family line before I was even born. But those things cannot be destroyed if they're not discussed, if they're not brought to the light, if they are not dealt with. And too many times we brush things under the rug. So if we're sweeping and brushing it under the rug, what happens? It builds a pile. And before you know it, there's an explosion, because that rug can only hold so much before everything starts to come out. So we want things to be dealt with in a nicer way, in a calmer way, and not an explosion. But how are we going to know what needs to be dealt with if there's no discussion? So tonight, we're going to start the discussion that you can take back, if necessary, to your own families. Get this stuff out. I know with some of the things that I dealt with, I honestly 100% tried to deal with it. And what happened? It didn't go well. So it drove a wedge even more in my immediate family. But did I what do I do with that? Do I just, woe is me, and I'm just fall to pieces? No, because I would rather do something on my part to try to make amends and make things work and get things together instead of not, and then later down the road have the shoulda, woulda, coulda. So at least I know for me, I did what I could for my family or in my family. Now there's some things that you're not going to change. There's some things that you are not going to be, you can't go back in time. However, what you can do is start from today and moving forward. And that way you will now make changes. There are some generational curses or things that took place in my family that I literally cursed it at the root because it would not go past me. I meant that thing. It's not going to go past me. So you can make the changes in your family line that were future generations. If you don't have kids, then your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, on down the line, well, after you have passed on, you can make those changes necessary. That's what I did. So I do things differently. So tonight we're going to talk about that, and I'm waiting for my people to come in. If not, I'm going to go ahead. There's a video, and I love Morgan because I think she's on social media a whole lot more. Greetings, Lady Smith. So happy you are on here. Thank you. I believe now. I know she's in Florida. Clearwater? I don't know, Florida, we'll just say Florida representing. Like me, I'm in Panama City. So there's a video that Morgan sent to me. And when I watched this, it was a reel on Instagram. When I watched the reel, I said immediately, we need to discuss this. And she said it would be perfect for a he said, she said segment. So she got one of her friends, gentleman, is going to come on and we're going to discuss it together. Now, what I want to do until they get here, Crestview. I am doing amazing, Crestview. So she's in Florida, y'all, and believe it or not, I'm ready for the warm weather. I really am. Although I've lived in multiple states where it's been cold and snowing and all of that, I'm not a fan of the cold. I am a fan of the heat. Now, I know that's weird, but I grew up in Georgia. Humid, hot. I would rather have that so I can sit in my air conditioner instead of being in South Dakota in the snow, having to put on multiple layers where I can't even walk. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Right, Lady Smith? She's like, me too. So I'm ready. We are ready. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show this reel. So with Restream, we have a new feature and I'm excited about it. And I'm going to show this reel. Now, what I need y'all to do is to listen and watch this reel. And I can see people in the chat. I can see y'all putting stuff in there. So I need you. We're going to comment. We're going to put our input. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I don't want to sit here and do all the talking. I want to read your comments and then we discuss that way. And then my guests are going to come in and then we're going to move on from there. All right. So let me share my screen. And Lady Smith, if you would do me a favor, if you can hear it once I start to play it, then let me know, okay? I'm going to share my screen. All right, number one, can you guys see my screen? Oh, there it is. So you should be able to see my screen. Yes, you can see the screen. I'm going to wait. If you can see the screen, say yeah. Well, Peach, you don't count. I'm talking, okay. All right, Kimberly said yes. All right, so now I'm going to play it. And if you can play it, I just need you to put a 1. When I start playing it, if you can hear it, just put a 1. All right.
And you said, not sure the term you use. I guess you had to apologize or change because what you learned from your father, you were teaching your daughter and you realized it was wrong. Mm-hmm. What was that?
My father, I had no idea at the time that he had a lot of unresolved anger from the way he was raised in the South, had to deal with a lot of racism. Mm-hmm. And he carried that back to Detroit. And I mean, I remember one time, brother, he asked me, he ran a barber shop. He asked me just simply to cut the air on. I accidentally cut the heat on. I think I may have been 10 years old. He cursed me out in front of everybody in the barber shop. That right there shattered my confidence as a man. It demeaned me, and it didn't stop there. He loved me, but he thought giving me gifts would suffice, and it didn't. I needed him to be active in my life, but he couldn't because of all the pain that he'd been through. And so it's called intergenerational trauma, where you pass down what you've received. So before I knew it, this anger that he even had toward my mother, he said he told my mother one day they had gotten divorced, and she accidentally opened one of his letters with mail that came to the house. And here it is, I'm going to middle school, and my mother shows me her gun in her purse, and she says, your father just called and said he's going to do something to me because I opened his letter. So here it is, as a young boy trying to focus in class, I got to think about my mother's life.
Yeah.
But that's how much anger my father had. And brother, I hope my transparency frees some brothers listening or watching. It's like, you don't want to create a legacy of wounds. You want to fight and do whatever you can to get healed, because if not, now you're going to see that same behavior in your children. Then you're mad at them, and all they did was become who you were.
That's why I think apologizing to your kids is so important, because that's something that, I feel like I never got from my father. And I always say my father raised me out of fear and not love. And I think that's what we got to avoid doing. We got to raise our kids out of love and not fear.
Yes,
the fear of that they might end up, falling victim to the street, or end up, if we were in the street doing the same things that we were doing, like we got to relinquish that.
That's true. I call it fear-based parenting. My mother was that way, which is understandably, I understand why she was, because she just lost a son, and then my other brother from my father, he was murdered. So she was terrified that I would die the same way. And because of that fear, she had checked out, meaning the affirmation that you typically get from your mother, the nurturing, I didn't get that. My mother loved me. Like everyone who knew my mother knew she loved me. But I realized in therapy, one session, when the therapist asked me, who would get the Band-Aid when you got hurt? And I said, I would. My mother would just tell me where it was. And in that moment, I realized, man, this is why I'm misusing women, because I never understood the importance of having my mother, the understanding of what nurturing is, the value, the affirmation. And I unpacked the mother wound as well in that book, because many of us, what we're seeking is the love from our mothers and women, and they'll never be able to match what we didn't get. And it's unfair to them. And so I had to unpack all of that, brother, because I didn't want to transfer that onto my children. And so I've allowed myself to be more tender in that area. My son by far has the best father, because I've become the embodiment of what I teach. And so to your point, yes, absolutely important for us as parents to not be fear-based, especially my son's, he's driving now. Why do I have to teach him how to get pulled over by the police? Why am I focused on that? What is that teaching him? Is that really making it better, or is it making it worse when he gets pulled over? But those are the things, we have to teach in our community. But at the end of the day, making sure you balance that with some positive reinforcement, and to teach them that how to live in the moment. Because when we teach our children, we got to understand we're also teaching them how to miss the moment, because they're programming themselves like, okay, if this happened, this probably gonna happen, because that happened to dad, that happened to mom, it's probably gonna happen to me. And so in that moment, if they're not open to be able to meet the moment, to do what's necessary, they may fail in that moment.
You talked about your relationship with your daughter.
So now that we have watched this very, very powerful reel, very powerful, now we're going to have a discussion. Now, I can't talk about you or what you got going on or what is taking place in your family. I can talk about me and what I've dealt with. 100% dealt with this. I did. However, I vowed to never be that way with my own children, right? But there were times when I did see some things. Hey, Peach, you want to take the chat off our main screen there? Because every time it pops up, there we go. Hey, Morgan.
Hey.
All right, fix your screen. I don't want to look at your.
half my face. I know,
Yeah,
girl. It's doing the most today. I just feel like I'm over it all.
it's been a Monday. Welcome. I'm so
A
happy you made
Monday,
it
Monday.
on. Okay, so I just showed the reel, so everybody got the chance to see and hear. So for future, we can show reels from ourselves. We can share that. So very powerful, talking about what we experience growing up, and it is not necessarily that person, that parent. It is what they've experienced that has transferred down from generations. I have come to understand that indirectly we are, or directly, we kind of carry that on from generations until we recognize it and stop it. So I recognize, for one thing, here's one. So my father would very loudly yell at us about stuff, little simple things. Like, here's a good example. He could not stand to hear people chewing or popping gum, right? That right there sent him over the edge. And if he heard it, and it could have been accidental, as I'm chewing, accidentally it pops, it's not on purpose. If you pop that gum again, I'm gonna make you spit it out. Really? That little thing just irritates you. That little thing. And so I found that one thing that it affected me is I wanted to have control over everything. I wanted to control everybody's move. You got to do it exactly like I say. It has to be that way because I had none growing up. I was controlled. That happened to me. But I had to recognize and realize, you know what, this is not good. This is not working. I need to do something about that. And so then I started the therapy process to really work through that, from therapy to workshops to classes, and all this stuff that I had to take, books, everything to get that out. So let's talk about this.
Yes, I'm trying to. I apparently wasn't the only one on the struggle bus today, so I'm trying to also make sure that our guests gets in here. Um,
So even as we are talking, you
yeah,
folks
sorry.
that are watching, I see your comments. So please put your comments in, whatever you want to add or ask a question or any of that. We are going to discuss this because my children did say something to me about how I was handling them. And I had to curtail that. I had to stop that. One thing that the guy said in the video is that he never got the apology from his parents, and he felt that that was something necessary. And I really thought about that because we as parents, those of us that are, sometimes feel like, I don't need to apologize to you. You're my child. What am I apologizing to you for? However, there's trauma that we are inflicting on our children unnecessarily because of what we dealt with, because of how we were raised, because of the experiences that we had that we never got help for. And so I have even, to my children, have even apologized to them for maybe being too strict, being too rough, being too, with the words that I said, being too harsh with that. So I had to apologize to them. My children, my three oldest, because Ariel, she's still growing up, but she's respects me well. But my three oldest children, there's nothing that these kids would do for me. Nothing. No, I'll call them today and say, look, I need you. I was just in New Orleans, and Kayla came from Georgia here to make sure Ariel was taken care of while I was gone. Now, if I didn't have that relationship with my children, she wouldn't have been readily coming down here to do that. Why? I got my own kids. Why am I coming down there? That's I don't want to do that. And she would have been within her right. But because of the relationship that I have, because I did say, you know what, I recognize that I did not handle things right. I did not handle them well. I did not say that the right way. I did not do that the right way. And I'm sorry. Zuri and I, when we lived in New Jersey, Zuri and I, she had moved out of her apartment and moved back home. She had been in an apartment for a year, almost 2 years, and she moved back home, right? but her attitude was horrible. Horrible. And so we all felt like we were suffering from the stuff that she was dealing with. So guess what I did? I went out of town on a business trip, came back, had a conversation with her, and put her out. I said, "You don't appear to be happy here. You're making all of us suffer. We don't like that. I'm tired of the rest of them coming to me like, what do we do? So you're going to have to go." That put a wedge between Zuri and I for months. Now, I don't know how long it was. It seemed like forever. But when we did get to the point of having a conversation, when I tell you those months of separation time for her, because anybody knows me know how I feel about my kids, that right there tore me up. And when she and I had a conversation, I was boo-hooing like a little baby. But I apologized. I said, "Zuri, I did not handle that well. I did not handle it the right way. I never want our relationship to be, bad. I never want us to be separated. None of that. I was big enough. I'm her mother, yes. But I was a woman enough to say, you know what? I didn't do that right. I didn't handle that right." And there's parents that don't acknowledge that at all. They don't acknowledge the wrongdoing they've done. They don't acknowledge the damage that they've done. They don't. But I acknowledge that my relationship with Zuri now, if I call her and I'm crying, she's like, what's going on? Who I need to come get? Like, she ready. She's in fight mode because we have that relationship. And she said, "There's nothing that I wouldn't do for you. Nothing." But because I took that step of saying that, because I took the road of taking responsibility for what I've done, for how I handle it, which may have not been the right way. So now I have that relationship. Whereas there are some people who have done things to their kids would spit on them before they said anything to them. I know that for a fact. I'm not just saying that. I know that for a fact. So Evangelist Adams says they thought they were doing right. Exactly. They only went based on what they experienced and what they knew, and what they experienced wasn't always right. The stories that I've been told about things that my parents and grandparents and great grandparents went through and dealt with, that was swept under the rug, that was not brought out, and how it has traumatized family members. And I'm wondering why they act like that. Now I know.
Yeah, yeah. So as much as I'm a firm believer in apologizing to my kids, um, that's how I show up
Mhm.
as a parent. But many of us are never going to get an apology from our parents. And there's a young lady who I believe is a therapist. I feel like she should be a motivational speaker and maybe even a pastor, because she's just anointed in a lot of things. Just very grounded and secure in some things. She was like, the apology really at the end of the day doesn't mean anything,
Mm.
because it doesn't. And we can't expect someone to see something that they can't see. Um, I unfortunately have had an estranged relationship with my mother for about 5 years now, and um, it's been that way because that's what she's
Mm.
chosen. It's not because I'm not talking to her. It's not because she owes me an
Mhm.
apology. I mean, she does owe me an apology, but that's not something I'm
Yeah.
looking for anymore. Um, because to me it's water under the
Mhm.
bridge. What it has shown me is how I was brought up to manage her
Mhm.
feelings. It's also shown me how little my feelings matter to her, especially when I've brought up and I've expressed the things that she's done and or said that has caused some
Mhm.
hurt, that was not kind, that wasn't nice, that may have been rooted in insecurity. And it's crazy because at the end of the day, like for me, like you said, once you start seeing things in the background, once you know what folks have experienced, for me, that allows me to give
Mhm.
grace where there might not have been some. And it's hard to grieve the loss of a relationship and someone is still very much
Mhm.
alive. I think that's a very hard thing and a hard place to come from. Um and to bring back the point of, kind of watching your parent have to either defend themselves or be scared for their life or whatnot. I'm glad that he was able to take that situation and not allow it to
Mhm.
define him. I'm glad that he was able, or he is able, to be self aware and say that, maybe his youngest kid or, his other children end up getting the best version of him, whereas, the older ones don't. I feel like that is
Mhm.
totally true in my relationship with both of my boys. And I have a good relationship with both of them. But what I know now, because I, chose to heal some things, because I chose to do some real digging deep down, not even just personally, but on a familial level, this allowed me to be able to understand how to break some real
Mhm.
generational curses, be able to understand like what my role in this is, because I was just taking on consistently, like I said, managing other people's feelings, trying to consistently be the one to always apologize even if I wasn't
Mhm.
wrong. You know what I mean? Like I don't, I think it's funny because when children speak out and they say certain things, you know what I mean, I want to say the not, I don't want to say the older generation because I feel like I'm sure we the older generation at
We
this
are.
point. Like we don't. I was like we don't crossed over, but our parents, they were like, I would never dare to say something to my parents like that. Well, that's probably the
Yeah.
problem because it's not that. I mean, let's define really what
Mhm.
respect is, because sometimes when you don't like what someone is telling you, you're disrespecting me. No, I'm telling you something that you don't like. There's a
Yeah.
big difference. I didn't say it in a disrespectful tone. There was no malice behind it, but something is real. I remember at one point in time, um, I think I was like 16 years old, and I called my mom a bully.
Mm.
And she was, "What?" I said, "You are." I said, "You know exactly where certain people's buttons and certain things that are going to like really set them off. And sometimes like you go and you actually push
Mm.
those things. And I don't want you to think that like I'm not painting her as a bad person, but we all do
Right.
things that, you know what I mean, for whatever reason end up coming up that way. And I'm just like, I just need you to support me. I just need you to hear me. I just need, you know what I mean? I need something different. So what I ended up taking away from that with the gentleman, first and foremost, is we have to stop trying to be the parent we want to
Mm.
be for these children, and we have to show up
Yeah.
for them as the parent that they need. And if you can't be able to sit your ego down long enough to figure out exactly what that means, because that might not be something you're used to, that might not be something that's ever been demonstrated in front of you. Nobody in your wheelhouse circle, whatever, knows how to actually do that. That's on you to
Yeah.
go get. And so for me right now, like my biggest charge is how do I show up differently for my children? When my son ends up getting into a space where I feel like he's being difficult, it's so easy for me to be able to just revert to what
Right.
I know. Well, this is what my parents did. This is what they did, or whatever. But I'm also young enough to remember what it was like being 14 years
Mm-hmm.
old. I don't want that for
Yeah.
my son. He deserves better than that. And you're right. Our parents did, they did the best that they could with what they had. But I'm also the type of person that says, okay, but that was then and this
Mm-hmm.
is now. And I think what I have gotten from the relationship with my mom is that she might not have been able to show me certain things, but she's been able to demonstrate what it is that I need to do
Mm-hmm.
different. And that's what I can learn from this situation. So instead of feeling some type of way, um, you know, you just, again, you lead with grace, and you
Yeah.
keep it pushing. I have full, I don't harbor any bad
Mm-hmm.
feelings. I'm sad because we don't have a relationship. I know my entire life I couldn't wait for my mom to be my
Mm-hmm.
friend. Like, I was waiting for that part. Like, when you're not about to be my mom and we could be friends. You know what I mean? I grew up with with a young lady where her and her mother, they were like this. And when she went off to college, she was like, "Well, who am I supposed to share my burger with? Who am I supposed to share a meal with? Who am I supposed to?" And I was like, "Girl, what you
Yeah.
mean?"
Right.
And I was like, that's exactly how tight they are. And I feel like I love how um they have been able to be in each other's lives for all things that have gone on, been able to accept each other for who they are, and at each stage in life. And I think that that's a beautiful way to be able to have a relationship with your child at
Yeah.
the end of the day, because they're not
Mm-hmm.
ours. They're
They
they're a
are.
gift. And the more we try to control, the more we actually are potentially getting in the way of what is meant
Mm-hmm.
for them, where they're supposed to go. And so we've got to be willing to learn and hear and discern certain things, so that again we can be able to show up for them the way that they need, rather than how we feel like we need. It's like a love language, your love language for your
Right.
kid. You know what I mean? I was explaining to Noah recently about love languages. And I said, imagine if you walked up to me and you said you wanted me to cut this pomegranate for you, and I handed you a piece of broccoli. And he was like, I would throw it. And I said, I feel you. I said, but why would you throw it? He was like, because that's not what I need, and that's not what I
Mm-hmm.
asked for. I said, exactly. I said, so if you can't be able to hear what somebody is asking, if you can't be able to discern, because some people don't also understand that children communicate at the level of their
Right.
ability. So sometimes you have to be able to sift through certain
Mm-hmm.
things, because that's all they know. It hurts my heart sometimes to see, people telling their children not to cry, get yourself together, all of these kind of things. Like, and they're not even at a mental age where they can actually self
Yeah.
soothe. They're not at a mental age where they could really be able to use their words to express what it is that they feel. Or they're being told, my mom's favorite line was, put your feelings in your pocket, they lied to you.
Mm.
So now at like 40 years old, you try and figure out, I don't know, I feel something, but what exactly do I feel? I don't know, because I've been out of touch with my feelings for all of these years.
Wow.
And that translates into so many other things. And I get it. But again, like he said, fear based, that's real. Because unfortunately, culturally, especially when we were here, it is rooted in fear. Slave owners used to use spankings as a tactic of
Mm-hmm.
control. We used to lie. You know what I mean? Like, even when we say stuff like, "Oh, your son is such a great kid. You can have him, or he's for free," or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or we'd be like, "Oh no, he might look like that in the front, but you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, don't let him fool you." That was a thing to make sure that our kids weren't sold
Mm-hmm.
off to another plantation.
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean, that like it's there's so many things that are rooted in that. And I think the more that we become aware, the more that we talk
Mhm.
about things, the more that we're open, we're teachable to hear. And again, like I said, set our egos down, we can get
One thing that
somewhere.
you said, you talked about the apology and receiving the apology. Um, I don't want, I don't, I've come to the acceptance that I won't get an apology, and that's cool. The main thing that I wanted to focus on was forgiveness. I wanted to focus on being able to forgive what was done. That way I can move forward, because we don't forgive, we stay stagnant. That holds us back. And I didn't want to get around family members and I haven't forgiven them, and it just changes my entire mood. But I heard something on, I think, Facebook, that one of the guys said an apology without change behavior is a waste of words. So if you say you're
Absolutely.
sorry, but your behavior, your actions are still the same, they're not showing that you are remorseful or sorry for what you've done, then why even waste it saying it, because it's not sincere. So don't apologize to me if you're not going to mean it. So don't waste your breath doing
Yeah.
that, because I'm going to be able to see through that anyway. So I wasn't seeking an apology when everything hit the fan in my family. I wasn't seeking an apology. I just wanted it to be known, because I never felt safe or comfortable enough to express how I felt for fear. Like he talked about that in the video, how, the past people, they raise their children in fear. So you fear me. No, even God doesn't want us to fear him, to be afraid, like, oh my God. No, he doesn't want that. He wants reverence. But a lot of us, myself included, were raised in fear. I never had that where I felt I was on edge all the time. All the time. So I never wanted that for my children. And one thing that she's abundance on here, but Kimberly, but what she said is she studied her children and their personalities, because you cannot, what each of them need is separate. I had to find that out. Yes, he's in. Can you hear us?
Yes.
But while he's getting his sound and stuff together, I had to do that with my own kids. So with Micah, so when I carried my son, when I tell you I was angry the entire time, and you can attest to this, that whatever the mother's feeling and she's experiencing emotionally transfers to the baby while she's carrying them. So I was so angry because of the things that I was dealing with and facing in my family. So when Micah was born, when I tell you this little joker was an angry something, like bully all the way, like kicking and punching holes in the wall when he got mad, all kinds of stuff. But then I had to learn in his early teenage years how to handle him, how to deal with him, because I could not deal with him the way that I thought that I needed to. And so even now,
Yeah.
Micah is 19 years old. He'll be 20 this year. And I still use those same tactics now to kind of diffuse what I see maybe him getting agitated. But the same way that I handle him is not the same way I handle Ariel or Kayla or Zuri. It's
Right.
not. It's totally
Yeah.
different. So I have 4 children with 4 different, very distinct personalities.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's not
Right.
favoritism. It's not, oh, well, this one gets to get away with this and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it's you literally are managing multiple personalities and you have to do what's
Right.
best to foster who you're
Right.
dealing with.
Right. So we as parents have to be ever so mindful of what we are saying to our children, what we are doing to them or for them, because like today, so Kayla has 3 boys. Cameron is the middle. So while I'm in New Orleans, she texts me and she's like, Cameron is just crying and crying. I don't understand what's going on, if he's hurting, blah, blah, blah. She's like, he was just a few minutes ago, he was fine. He was talking and laughing. And then now he's just crying uncontrollably. He won't stop. And I said, just grab him and just hold him and say, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. You're good. And so that is a way, and even today, so I got back in the middle of the night, and so today he comes out of the room and he's just crying. Oh, he's so dramatic, just carrying on. And I'm like, oh my God, come here, Cameron. And I hugged him. I said, it's okay. And I rubbed his head. I say, it's okay, baby. It's okay. You're safe. You're good. Calm all the way down. So we have to learn our children and how to handle them, know what they need. You know, I've said some harsh things to my kids. I have that I've had to. Now I
Me
feel
too.
so, thinking back on those things, like so bad for that. But that is a product of what I had, and I said I would never do it, and then it rose up, and I did that. But I went back and made some changes. I went back and apologized. You know what? That was not right. And you can't take your words back. So once you say them, they're said. Once you do things, they're done. You can't take them back. But you got to learn from that and move forward and build. And one thing the father said
Yeah.
in the reel is that he did what he needed to overcome what he grew up with. And so he said his son has the
Yeah.
best father possible because he went and took those measures to better himself so he could be better for his children, because it's
Yeah.
just going to be a continual cycle if we don't. And I don't want to be dead and gone.
Yeah.
And then this same foolishness is going on, which is why I curse it at the root. Like what this here that I went through, I curse it at the root. It's not going to go past me. It will not go past my kids. It will not. And I meant that because I want there to be love, support, happiness, growth together in my lineage after me, after I'm gone. You talked about the young lady with having the relationship with her mom, and they're like friends. Like, when are we gonna get to that friend mode? I'm literally like that with my kids, to the point where I have to remember, oh, wait a minute, like we sitting talking, laughing, doing stuff like I'm their age. And I'm like, wow, this is something. And then sometimes they'll say something out the way and they're like, oh, sorry, mom. And I'm like, yeah, we might be chopping it up and everything, but I'm still mama. So, let's curtail that. But the level of comfort that they have with
That's what I was
me,
gonna say. Yep. Hmm.
I love that, because I don't want them to come around me and think that they can't be themselves and they have to put on this front and hold all that inside, because then I'm not getting the fullness of who my children are.
Yeah. Absolutely. 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 Well, like you said, so we're talking about as far as
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness. It comes down to, I saw this therapist say that hurt that we feel is a lot of the time rooted in disappointment because our parents didn't show up the way that we needed to, or we
Mm-hmm.
thought that they should have. And so now, as an adult, that's why I say sometimes it doesn't really matter, because the job is now for us to parent
Mm.
ourselves. Because a lot of the time we go back to, like, I know I've said last season, like, there are times where I'm like, 12-year-old Morgan has shown up again,
Mm.
like, I need you to have a seat over here because adult Morgan's got this. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And stop feeling like those are the feelings that I need to give
Yeah.
into. You know what I mean? They're real. They should be honored. And in the words of my therapist, sit in those feelings, but but then get to a place where it's like, okay, so then how exactly can I do
Right.
better? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? How can I parent this part of me? How can I, deal with, whether it's the neglect you felt, or the disrespect that you felt, or the lack of
Right.
support that you felt, or, like you were saying, not being able to be fully you because you feel like the decisions that you make have to honor your parents first
Mm-hmm.
and foremost. You know what I mean? I in complete transparency, I can most definitely be a people pleaser in a lot of ways, and value commitment and people over
Yeah.
myself, because I like what comes with
Mhm.
connection, and that's something that, like I said, I value very deeply. But at the same time, you can't value that to the point where you're not actually living your
Yeah.
life for you, living your life the way you're intended. And I had a wonderful conversation today on my flight home. I should have been asleep so that I'm not half sleepy now. But it was the epitome of amazingness to just talk to her, and to talk to a woman who understood exactly where I was coming from. Funny enough, she ended up also being an
Mm.
adoptee. She's got a very interesting and amazing story. And as she was describing, her adoptive mother, I was like, no way. I feel like we grew up in the same house. You know what I mean? Because there were a lot of similarities with things. And my growth in trying to understand and navigate this estrangement allowed me to really pour into her, because she's like, there are some things that I want to look up, but I feel like, or, I want to be able to know what my background is, but I know that that would kill my mother. And I was just like, yeah, but you're also sitting here at 50 years old, you know what I mean? And are you going to continue to use that as an excuse to not honor yourself and what you need
Mhm.
to know? Two things can be mutually exclusive. I mean, it can be true at the same time. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be disrespect for you to go and follow your heart, follow what you want, go do what you want. Because at the end of the day, I don't think any of us as parents really want to sit where our kids regret not doing something because we didn't allow them
Mhm.
to. Because they wanted to honor us, they wanted to make
Yeah.
us happy. Like, life is not being a parent, part of being a parent is not about making your kid making you
Yeah.
happy,
That's right.
because you're gonna be miserable as a parent, because it doesn't happen like that.
Right.
Like, at all,
Right.
it doesn't. So, it, like, you've got to be able to roll with the punches. You've got to be able to, you know allow them to feel certain things, allow them to figure out certain things, give themselves some space to fail,
Yeah.
in a sense. Or, because I don't really believe in failure and making mistakes. Everything is a learning
Mhm.
experience. You know what I mean? Everything is a teachable
Yeah.
moment. And that's how we grow. That's literally how we build extra synapses. That's how we were
Yeah.
built. And if we take that out, then we become robots. And that's not really how we were created in the
Yep. You
first
talked
place.
about the people pleasing. And I remember I took Dr. V did this no more sabotage course, and it talked about the
Mm,
saboteurs, and people pleasing was like the top number that you could get was 10. And my results after I took the assessment for the very first time, my pleaser was at a 9 or a 9.5. And when I look
mm,
back over my life from that point previously, that's who I was. I wanted to make sure that I put myself on the back burner if it was something that I didn't want to do, but to make people happy, I did that and I lived my life that way to my detriment. And I had to really deal with that to now realize, April, for all of these years you have put in, and I was in my 40s, for all of these years you put everybody else before you, and so now you have not lived the fulfilled life that you could have because you did that. And I never want to project that on my children. So when they come to me now, and even when they were teenagers, and they come to me and ask about, my opinions on them doing this or doing that, I'm like, does it make you happy? Is this something that you feel really like you want to do? You're excited about it? Then I'm in support of it.
Right.
I say you have to weigh all your options. Don't do it. My son, one thing he wanted to do, he was like, Mom, but if you don't want me to do it, I won't do it. No, it's not about me. It's about you. Is this something that you want to do? Will it make you happy doing it? Don't do things for other people, do it for yourself. And now that I've gone through all of that training and therapy and everything, it's like it's April for April. And if I don't want to do it, it's a no. If I'm not interested, it's a no. And you're not going to coerce me to do it. Either I want to do it or no. And if you're upset that I'm not going to do it, then you're somebody that I don't need to be connected to. So I would never want my children to build up resentment with me because I have told them, no, you don't need to do that because this can happen. No, you don't need to do that because that can happen, And
Yeah.
so I've now,
That's living in
yeah,
fear. That's living in
absolutely.
fear and using that to control as well. So not only can you do fear-based parenting in the sense of trying to
Yeah,
invoke fear to control, but you can allow fear to control you enough that you don't allow them to be able
right.
to live. Like it's nothing worse than like being scared all
Yeah.
the time.
It's called being hyper vigilant. Now we're supposed to be vigilant and be
Mhm.
aware of what's going on, aware of things. Like for me now, you won't catch me roller skating. I never learned, but you won't do that now. You won't see me on roller skates now. I'm at the age where it take a little bit longer for bones to heal. I'm moving up the ladder. So what I
Yeah.
look like, if I've never learned, now it's not the time for me to learn. So I am aware that can do some harm, but I don't want to be thinking that for me and now project that onto Ariel, who wants to learn, who wants to do that. Anything could happen. You could walk outside and get struck by lightning. You never see that coming. So don't go outside. No, I'm not going to have that. And I never had that with my kids. They want to do everything. Just here, Micah played all kinds of sports and did all. I'm like, oh my God, when he broke his shoulder, I'm like, well, that's going to be the end of that. And it wasn't. He did it, went through the healing process. He went through the therapy process and was back out there on the field. I'm like, well, okay. I didn't want to stop him from doing that, because of fear. A lot of us parents, a lot of parents watching this are going to watch. Y'all need to take inventory of how you have interacted with your children or what you have done, because you may need to go back and say you're sorry, and say you're sorry and change the behavior, change what you're doing, understand who they are, because how you were raised may have not. Now, if you had a wonderful upbringing, your parents were great, they were open, they allowed you to do things, they supported you, they encouraged you in all of that aspect, and you felt like you feel like you have a really good relationship with your parents, then I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those of us that did not have that. We did not go through that. And it has projected onto our parenting, has projected onto how we handle our families, our current family. I'm glad that things have changed. I wish things were different with the immediate family, but what can I do? Like, I've done my part. And I'm just not going to, what they say, the horse is dead. Don't beat the dead horse. Like, I'm not gonna beat the dead horse. It's dead. Like, what else you gonna do? So move forward. I got other things to focus on. I have my own children, my own grandchildren, preparing and setting up my kids and grandchildren and great grands that are coming along, set them up and making sure that they all feel loved, they feel supported, they feel encouraged, and we have that relationship. I would not trade anything for the relationship I have with my kids, to the point where Ariel is 10. While I am in New Orleans, this chick does something that she just totally out of character. She so allowed a little friend of hers that spending the night here, to influence her to do something that she knew was wrong. Ariel was so upset about it, that the fact that she did it, that she told me. She wasn't going to tell me. Two of the kids, my other children, knew, but Ariel told me. Now, I could have done what I would have normally done, which was come back and just get my belt and go to spanking. But why? What is that going to solve? It's going to inflict pain, but have I dealt with the bigger issue? So I chose to do things differently. I told her when she let me know, I said, we'll talk about this when I get home. So when she came home from school, we sat on the sofa. I had a very calm conversation with her, but firm, to let her know this is who you are. You are a leader, you are not a follower. And if someone's trying to get you to do something that you know is wrong, you need to be strong enough to say no. And whatever happens with them happens. I said, so you are grounded for a while. I can't give you a time limit. I said, but I'm warning you. If you let this happen again, we're going to have a totally different conversation. So she was scared because she didn't know how I was going to respond. Now, had this been me growing up, oh, I've been somewhere in the hospital, like literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I
So
agree.
we definitely need to handle our children differently. All right, let me see if I can read
Yes, they deserve that better.
some of these comments here. So Evangelist Adams, she had to leave, but she said, I think that while they are in your home, you have to be their parent. And when they grow up, they become friends. And I agree with that, because when they're growing up, they don't know. We have to teach them. There has to be structure. There has to be communication. There has to be understanding. We need to guide them because they don't know anything about life. They don't know anything about situations that are going to rise and how they need to handle that. And then once we've taught them and instilled in them and poured into them and they become adults and they're now living their life, now we can see what we taught them manifesting. And now our relationships shift to a dip, because now I'm just here as your advisor. I don't tell you what to do, but I'm your advisor. I have my girls still call me wanting my advice on stuff, and that's good, because at the end of the day, it's your decision, but I want to give you a different perspective on how to look at it. So look at it from this way. How is this with Zuri? She's trying to find her own place, and she's gone to view these places. She's done videos. She sent them to me. I've given her my feedback, but at the end of the day, Zuri, it's your decision. Here's what I think based on the cost and what you have available. This looks good, like something you can handle. But if you think you can handle more or you're not quite on it, then that's your decision. That's where it transitions when they are out of the house, when they are adults, when they are moving on with their lives. Now, would I wanted my kids to stay little forever? Yeah, because I'm like, wow, they really are grown up and leaving up out of here. Like, what?
True, true,
Yeah, so
true.
it happens quickly. So yeah, it is a different day. What I like with what's been going on in some places is things are no longer being hidden, and they're no longer you brush to the side, because with the world that we live in today and what's going on, we have to make some changes in our behavior, in our family lives, in our personal lives, all of that, because we're raising, like you, Joe and Noah, are future leaders in our world. And if you treat them the way that you were treated, or talk to them the way you were talked to, or any of that, how are they going to lead the world when they become adults? What are they going to do?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they mimic what was demonstrated in front
Yeah.
of them, And so I have a saying here in our house: if you don't like what you're getting, look at what you're giving.
Mm.
And that's real. I think even in parenting with someone, that's a conversation. I know my husband and I have had multiple conversations about how to handle certain
Hmm.
parental things. And it sometimes will end up like in an argument where, especially coming from the place where I am now and being more aware of how I show up, being more aware of how I need to unlearn some unhealthy habits and replace them with things that make, that are um more effective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get out of a cycle. It's hard to get out of certain things. And sometimes it'd be like, well, it's my mom or my dad wasn't a horrible person. No one is saying they were a horrible person. What I am saying is what they demonstrated was not
Right.
healthy. And so from here, we need to do
Right.
something different. You know what I mean? I know what I've seen might have not been healthy in this
Mm-hmm.
situation. And a lot of the times, I think when we get frustrated, when we, lash out, when we have certain things, it's because it literally is a flashback. What they say, when you're hysterical, it's historical,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's why we end up getting into these spaces
Right.
that are here, because those emotions that we might not have been able to have, those emotions that were not brought up at the
Right.
time, now are surfacing as adults, where we know kids are going to bring out the best and the worst
Mm-hmm.
of you. Just like relationships and
Yeah.
marriage does, like it's going to show you
Oh
you.
yeah.
And so the question is, are you going to show up different? Are you going to do are you going to do something different, or are you going to continue to subscribe to what is comfortable or what you've
Right.
already known? And for some people, that even is a definition of honest
Mm-hmm.
chaos. And then they're looking around like, well, why is this going this way? I mean, you got to take a look at what
Right.
you're getting.
Absolutely.
I know postpartum depression was hard for me. And that was right after Noah was born. And life was really lifing on top of COVID. Um and then, having another small child. And Noah was an early talker, but just like you were talking about Micah, Noah was a yeller.
Mm.
And one day I was like, yo, why is this kid always yelling? Why is he always so animated? But I realized that in his early language development, his mama was
Mm.
angry. His mama was overwhelmed. She was overstimulated. She was just touched out, tapped out, help me, Jesus type of
Mm-hmm.
situation. And it's always easy to point the finger at somebody else. It's always easy to say, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, even just today, I was, talking about, I was like, it's not your, like, just because I'm frustrated with you, that's not your fault. That's my fault. I got to manage my
Mm-hmm.
frustration. And that doesn't take away from you still being a pain in the
Right.
but I still have to come to the table different. Because if I'm not handling what I need to handle, then what am
Mm-hmm.
I doing? I'm making you have to manage my
Mm-hmm.
feelings. And eventually, especially as they get older, then that's when they tend to withdraw. That's when they tend to do, you know what I mean? They just go off on their own, and now you've lost that connection with
Mm-hmm.
them. And that's why you see kids lying. That's why you see them doing all those types of, like, lying is a sheer uh explanation of a child being fearful of telling the
Mm.
truth. And if you don't leave an open space for them to feel comfortable enough to come to you, like you said, Ariel telling you, yeah, mom, I did this.
Yeah.
She could have lied about it. She could have denied it. She could have blamed it on the friend. She could have whatever. But she was convicted to the point where it was like, no. And I got to
Mm.
tell my mom. And obviously, like you said, you have been working on managing your feelings, managing how you
Right.
show up, which is why she felt comfortable enough to come to you and tell you this. And it's crazy. I remember when I first had Josiah, there was a lady in my life, and I asked her, I said, how are you and your son so cool? Like, you don't ever seem to, like, nothing gets a
Mm.
rise out of you. She was like, she said, I stay cool and calm in the forefront of things. And then I go in my room and I scream in my pillow.
Mm.
All the things that I want to do, So she still validates her
Mhm.
feelings. You know what I mean? Because yeah, listen, I mean, sometimes our kids be telling us stuff, and we're like, what? Like, you want to pull your hair out? You want to, shake them a
Right.
couple times? You want to like, what the heck? But
Yeah.
you gotta stay cool. You gotta stay calm. You gotta do what you need to do to get out of this. Teach them. Use it as a teaching
Hmm.
moment on how to handle
Yeah.
these things. Because if we don't give them the proper tools, then we're going to keep repeating the same thing over and
Hmm.
over and over again. And I'm sorry, I need my hair. I don't need it to be thin or gray. Like,
Right.
I got enough of that going on already naturally. Like, so let's not add any
Right.
extras to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
My kids,
So,
before we left South Dakota, one Christmas, I will never forget this as long as I live. I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody wanted to have, Mom, we want to have a confession day. But we tell you everything that's been going
oh,
on.
listen and we don't
Yeah,
judge.
yeah. So when you can't get mad and you can't do anything. And I was like, oh my God. So here I am thinking, my kids hadn't done anything. When I tell you that look that you just did, I was like, and I made them stop. The stuff that they were telling me, I made them stop. I was like, oh my God, all this stuff, y'all are doing what? Couldn't even believe it. And I told them after, when I stopped them, I said, listen, we will never have this day again. Never. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear it, because now I literally could have like tore the house up, beaten them down for the stuff that they had done. But they had already said you can't get mad. But I had to get my emotions in check, because some folks was gonna be beat up. But yeah,
And
but I did
that's
good.
well,
I
that's
really did
crazy.
well. I did. I
You
did.
did,
I did. I
yay!
think I
I'm
was too
proud of
shocked
you
to do
because
anything
listen,
else. Like, you were doing what now? Yeah, quite interesting. Well, unfortunately, our guest Kivas was not able to get his technical difficulties together, and I'm so heartbroken. However, you are indebted
I
to us
know.
to come at the end of March. You owe us. So we're going to work on that for you to be on with us the last Monday in March, and we'll have another topic. I'm going to go back through these reels that you sent me to see what else we can talk about, because this one was good. So I hope that you all have enjoyed our show. Thank you so much for sharing it out, for commenting, all of that you've done. Before we go, I'm going to talk about Alive again. Y'all trying to be healthy and do different things in your lives. I was talking with someone at the conference who is going through menopause and dealing with all these hot flashes and things that come out of nowhere. I said, well, you know that Alive that I told you about last year? I said, that balances your hormones. She's like, it does? Yes, it does. So you need to be taking that. We have promotions going on. And for you coffee drinkers, we have coffee that is launching on March the 1st, and I'm taking pre-orders. Listen, we have already had this coffee. We've sampled it out, and this coffee gets nothing but rave reviews. So you can put Folgers and all these other things down and get this. If you are interested in pre-ordering, because March 1st is when it launched and they'll start sending all those orders out, you need to get in contact with me. But this Alive, this is the apple cinnamon, we have the Applebee's cherry, and we have the liquid collagen that is good for your bones, for your joints. And I can tell you this one thing about that liquid collagen. So I always will have issues with my right knee. And this is what I have been taking it for some time before I realized this. I was in the airport here walking down the stairs because the escalator wasn't working. And usually when I walk down the stairs, my knee it gives. And I realized as I'm walking, like, my knee doesn't have pain and it's not giving. And I was like, okay, all right. That liquid collagen is no joke. That's why my fingernails keep growing so long and strong, because it's my nails, my joints, my hair, all of that, my bones. So you want to get with me, because we got these promotions going on, and I want you to get a part, and especially if you want this coffee. You got to. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm going to drink this because I want to experience what I've been hearing about. Like, I want to experience that. So,
Well, I am a coffee drinker, and I'm gonna just take a minute to plug my
yes.
my clients. I was like, I don't know if you peeped my shirt
Not as big.
earlier,
Stand up again.
but yes. It says Jesus loves coffee too. Yes, I was like, my client said, so I went to Texas. I was like, just like you were away this week. I was like, I was away as well. Um, and I was like, I will definitely put in here. I want to say, look, it's a aurora.co. But they are an absolute amazing. Oh, we should definitely have them
Mm.
on, as guests. I was like, this is a husband and wife team
Oh,
that are working a business
yes.
together. And when I tell you they are the most fantastic people I've ever met. Like this experience was probably it ranks very
Hmm.
high on my, as we were joking this week, on my doula-ing list. So listen, I just wanted to, shout them out in the Frisco, Dallas
Mm.
area. um, they are, like I said, phenomenal, phenomenal people. And if you guys do know anyone who needs a doula, I am actually working on some consulting things, so that I can branch out if I can't end up traveling. So I just want y'all to know that like the information is out there, the education is out there. April and I, look, we really need to get it
I'm waiting
together
on
now because
you.
look, exactly. Look at the look. I need. I guess I need to hurry up then because look, our next he said she said I'm gonna be out the
Oh,
country. I'm trying to be like
yeah.
you.
So yeah, we need to do that.
I'll be out the country,
Okay.
y'all. So I'm super excited about a lot of things, and I can't wait to like share it
Yeah,
on a grander scale.
absolutely.
But for right now, I do want to plug too. If you any of you guys are interested, next weekend, and if you are in the Delaware area, Black Mothers in Power is hosting an in-person book club meeting. I do plan on definitely having this young lady on our podcast because she has an amazing story, but you can be able to get a bit of this um in there. Let me see if I can put her link in here right now so that you guys can um be able to buy the book and read it real quick. It's a very quick read. It's very raw, it's very real. But it's her story and her life story, and like lifed. She ended up in prison, and the
Mm.
story is about how she had her baby
Oh,
in
wow.
prison. It's about having a doula and a midwife in prison. So it's like for anybody, yes. And the way that she's come out of this, the boss woman that she is, like she's absolutely amazing, amazing. So I can't wait. We are actually doing a meet the
Okay.
author for next week. So I was like, if you guys are interested, it's going to be at Black Mothers in Power Center. I want to say that's 2215B North Washington Street in Wilmington, Delaware. It's going to be, I want to say it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'll make sure that I post it. You guys see postings all over the place. But I would love for us to be able to come out, be able to support her, um, give her, her
Mhm.
flowers, be able to hear from her, and then also obviously be able to support this book. I'm a book lover. Anybody who can sit down and really read a book, I'm coming. uh who can write a book, you know what I mean? I feel like that's something special. And because she was so transparent and honest about what her experiences is, what brought her to this place, and how, things have ended up, I think it's definitely worth, celebrating in the end. So
Absolutely.
I just wanted to put that out there because everybody's always looking for, hey, what can I do? I want to do something, I want to be able to support, another Black business. She's got a lot of awesome products, like hair growth products, the whole 9 yards. She's very holistic. Everything is
Mm.
made from scratch and from natural ingredients. And so she'll also, I believe she may actually have a table as well. So shout out to Black Mothers in Power and all
Woo-hoo.
that they do in Delaware, making sure that women are able to birth on their terms, on top of all the other amazing things, from transitional housing to, fighting for doula reimbursement to, actually our first male
Yeah.
doula training that's coming up in June. So
Exciting.
we're excited. They were doing big
Expansion
things.
and growth.
They're
I
doing big
love
things.
it. All right, y'all. Well, we are
Yes.
done. We have had a great show. We've had great discussion. We've plugged in everything that we need to. The last thing that I want to say is join us next Monday at the same time. We're going to stream it. It's on
Yes.
YouTube, Morgan's page, my page, House of Peach page. Join the Boss Ladies Lounge. You just never know who's going to be on, and you never know what we're going to talk about. But nothing is off the table. So hit us up if you want to be a guest. Hit us up if you have questions that you want us to discuss, topics you want us to discuss. We want all of that. It just helps us to help you. All right. So until next week, we're going to sign off because I have to get in another meeting in about 30 minutes. So I want to kind of get myself together. So we shall see you all next Monday. Have an amazing week. We thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.